When you heard, I guess, post-op that it was a little bit more than initially thought, the injury, did that build into what you had mentally been dealing with the injury for so long? Give you any more information, I guess?
You know, when you're competing daily, you do the very best you can to shut off any sort of distractions, anything that could any sort of like weak language or excuse language or anything that you would believe could be a reason why you don't perform well. You shut that off, and so I wasn't sleeping, and I wasn't performing well. But when I wasn't able to sleep, and when I couldn't do that, I knew there was something going on, and it's been pretty consistent for a while. You know, I'd never played so badly, and I loved the challenge. So I wasn't intimidated by that. I was motivated by it, but it just didn't compute. You know, of all the things that I've done well in my career, you know, I'm fine defensively. I'm fine when it comes to many of the parts of the game, but my strength is how I've performed against right-handed pitching. It's been the core of my career success. I mean, you're seeing Albert Pujols, the strength of he's 42, dominating left-handed pitching. You know, I feel like I can do that for as long as I'm well. And I was getting dominated by right-handed pitching. Now, I don't know if that had something to do with this, but I'm suspicious it may have. But I wasn't well. It was about time. It had nothing to do with where our team was, or where our team was at the time that I had the surgery. I want to play the season out. I want to play every game available. It has nothing to do with making opening day. I want to play the season out. I want to play as many games as possible, and then when the time comes, I figure it out. But at some point when you're at a place, you're just not an effective performer, and you have to be realistic about where you are. And it turns out that it ended up being more than I anticipated. I thought it was just a rotator cuff tear, and it ended up being a bicep tear. I was told it was a bit of a mess in there, and the pain was real before the surgery. So again, I can't stand making excuses or even talking about this, but you know, it was. I do think there may have been a connection between my performance and my injury, but maybe not. Honestly, maybe not. Maybe not. But we'll find out. We'll find out, and that's something I'm very much looking forward to. You know, I'm excited about that challenge. I was very excited about the challenge of coming from a poor start and finishing strong. I was crazy stoked about that, but and I thought I was going to, but it just wasn't to be. So.
Do you felt relief since the surgery? Do you feel? I mean, obviously you're probably recovering, but do you feel better? Does it hurt still? Do you think that it did the trick, that you'll be able to recover fully and resume next year, full strength?
Yeah, I've never been through a rehab like this. Most of the rehabs I experienced were usually within a month. I know 14 was a bit odd, and just wouldn't quit, but the other structural repairs were shorter and quicker recovery. I feel like I don't feel better. I mean, it's shoulder, bicep surgery are a bit more complicated, so you don't. But I feel like it was the right thing to do based on the feedback I received from the doctor after being inside, and that made me feel good because I had real guilt before it. I never liked leaving the team or leaving the fan base, and I don't like failing, so I felt real guilt, but I never want to feel like I quit. But it made me feel, I feel relief that I was legitimately injured and it was justified. Like there was multiple opinions that it needed to be repaired, and Dr. Kremchek was certain it needed to be repaired, and I trust him. So.
Were there people around you, I guess doctors, and maybe even yourself, that were, now that you know what the injuries were, are they surprised, or did they give you feedback about how you were even able to perform at any level with those injuries?
You know, not really. Not really. Nothing. No, I didn't perform, so kind of really, you know, I don't get a pat on the back. I wish I had performed, because if I had performed, I wouldn't have had the surgery. I would have kept playing with it. But no, I didn't perform, so way to go, way to play terrible. You know?
You tweeted, I didn't know I was hurt, I thought I just stunk. I know sometimes you're joking, but is that how you felt?
Most of my stuff is tongue-in-cheek, just to keep things light. I think I was on, I may have been in the fog of anesthesia. I asked my mother, who cared for me after the surgery, I said, "Is this okay?" She goes, "That's pretty funny." So I pressed tweet like the second she said that. And then I didn't look back, or I didn't look back for a bit, and it gained a little traction. But yeah, I didn't think I stunk. It just didn't make sense to me. The whole thing didn't make sense to me. I was at Yankee Stadium preparing to compete against the Yankees the first day after my back stuff, and I ran a sprint, and I was like, what on earth is going on with my arm and my hand and my elbow? The whole thing was jacked up. And then I took a swing in the game, and this is the first game back after taking a week off. Like, you'd think you'd feel really well. Before that trip, that time off, it was the same thing. It was always just something. And so I just thought I would gut it out and finish it up. You know, and just no excuse, just get the job done. And I wasn't able to do that, which I'm confused, but also excited about the challenge for next year, motivated. I'm not like, I don't mind anything anyone says here, or when people make comments. Like, I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong, and I'm not trying to like come back. No, I always want to be excellent all the time. No matter what anybody says, I always want to be excellent. I always want to perform to my best. I always want to make sure that I can look in the mirror each and every night, no matter how much support or how much, counter comments. I don't even know if that's the right words, but you know, I don't. Those aren't priorities for me. I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong. I want to perform well, and so that's where I'm excited about that. I would really like to perform well. I'd like to finish. I'd like to have a strong finish to my career and be proud, and that's part of the reason why, like, I wanted to perform well through the end of this year because of the poor start, and I just felt hampered. I was never able to get over the hump, and I'm hopeful that this is the case. And if it's not the case, then, you know, at some point you got to walk away. But I think it is. I think it is.
So you said you weren't sleeping. Was that pain related, or was that stress?
Yeah, no, not stress. There are plenty of that, but pain. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's pretty severe then, like, to keep you from losing
severe
sleep.
is not, I mean, severe. I wouldn't say severe, but it inhibited my ability to recover, and I noticed it with everything. If I ran, real pain, swinging pain. It ended up being a problem in my hand too, and the hand was a major issue for the last 6 weeks or so. But you deal with these things and you don't acknowledge them, and you keep moving forward. And I was not going to say anything about it. I wasn't going to acknowledge it to myself, is what I'm trying to say. Because why? You know, plug away. You know, this is what Major League Baseball fans come to watch. It's not, you know, they come to watch people that plug away and do their job and don't want to hear the gripes. They have their own problems, and I get a lot of inspiration from that. You know, nobody wants to hear about it. You know, do your job. Let me enjoy the show. You know, so.
When did it start that you weren't able to sleep?
It was at least the beginning of July, because I remember specifically having issues with that. But I also had the back thing, and COVID took forever to get over. And so my guess is like sometime in June, early July, where it was like clear that I was having problems with it, for sure.
Is that tougher not to sleep when you're not doing well?
Not doing well trumps everything. I could not sleep, or I could play poor. I could feel poor, not well. I don't care. I am here to perform. I'm here to do the very best I can, but most importantly, execute on the field, perform, no matter how I feel. You know, in the past, if you were ill, you'd still perform. You know, COVID's changed things in that way, but plenty of times where I felt really not good, but all I wanted to do is perform and not tell anybody about it. Too many times in my career, and that's the nature of this job. Everybody deals with that, you know. So.
You said I know you don't want to make excuse but when things aren't adding up, is that something you're looking forward to maybe spring, early next year, that will tell you if this was what was causing you not to be at your best?
Yeah, if I play like this, I'm not going to be able to play anymore. There's no question about that. This performance level is unsustainable. No one wants to give a major league roster spot to a player that performs like this. That's clear. I become a bench player. I become a backup. I become a platoon player. As I sit here right now, I don't view myself in that role. Not, 9 months ago, I was, telling everybody my name, and now all of a sudden, I'm talking about, so I still have high expectations for my ability. You asked the question again.
No, I think that answered it. I mean, like, basically, you said you don't know if it's an excuse, but everything in the math with what you were doing and how you're feeling, it didn't add up. But yet, you don't know if that is the answer until it's put in motion.
Until we get to test it. Yeah, that's my hypothesis, but we have to test it. Yeah.
How long until you can start doing those kind of things, to start ramping up for baseball, actually? Now, beyond the rehab and actually start baseball stuff?
I was told in the new year I'll be able to maybe start swinging a bat, but as far as like aggressively, probably sometime in just right around the beginning of spring training, more aggressive swinging. But I have to make sure I'm in a good way. Of course, I want to play every game possible, make opening day, but I want to make sure I come back to perform and be able to play every game that, the second that I come back, I prepare in such a way that I'm going to play every game that I'm asked of through the end of the year. And we see it this year. There's double headers and odd travel times and night game, day games. Next year they're gonna bang the runner at second base, so we're playing extra inning games. So you have to be ready for anything, and I just want to make sure I'm ready for that. I'm going to work as if I'm prepared for the very first day of spring training. My mind is on that, but I have to come back and be able to replicate feeling well on a consistent basis and performing well on a consistent basis. So all I've ever wanted to do is play every inning, every game possible, and so it's been my life. But I've never had a rehab, an injury, and a rehab process like this. So we'll see how long. We'll see how long it takes. You can't cut corners. So
you'd always rather be on the field, but knowing this challenge ahead of you, is this something you're kind of embracing? You kind of sound a little bit excited about getting past this and proving that you are still a really good player.
More to yourself. You asked about compute, and it didn't make sense. I've never performed poorly against right-handed pitching. And so, like, if I'm not good at that, like, I'm not good at anything offensively, and that's the core of my game. And I don't know. I don't feel any sort of. I don't feel anything other than I want to get well. I miss playing. I miss having the uniform on. I miss the challenge of the dailiness of the job, especially as you get a little older. It's a little bit more challenging, but I really feed into it. I enjoy it. It's really satisfying. It's part of my life and identity and who I am as a person. So I don't want to say I feel lost. I have a target, so I feel like I've got a focus. But I just miss playing. I miss competing. I miss playing well. Last year was so fun because it felt like that's where I belong. Whereas this year it felt confusing, but I was motivated to come back.